As I lay asleep, I was startled by the soft creak of the door, and it was Jake standing there, a genuine tale of betrayal. There are crucial moments in life that change everything. In hindsight, it becomes clear that it began in a rather ordinary fashion. However, that ordinariness is never truly fixed. Thus began my tale. Jake, my stepson, and I found ourselves immersed in the familiar ambience of a typical evening in the living room. In the wake of Robert's passing, a profound silence settled over this abode. For 2 years, I had been striving to piece together the shattered elements of my life. Yet, I had failed to notice that Jake had grown more mature. Maybe I was reluctant to admit it. We found ourselves immersed in a thrilling film, rich with exhilarating action and tender moments of romance woven throughout. Jake lounged next to me on the couch, his arms casually stretched out, exuding an air of ownership over the space around him. It was the first time I saw him like that. His shoulders bore a greater strength, and his jawline stood out with striking definition. There was a shift in his presence I hadn't noticed before. Confidence, maturity, something unfamiliar. Yet I promptly cast aside that idea from my thoughts. He is my stepson, I reminded myself. Yet, that evening, I remained oblivious to the fact that those reminders would ultimately fall short. As the film unfolded, the scenes grew ever more intense. Jake leaned slightly to the side, resting his arm on the back of the couch, inching a bit closer to me. He seemed poised to utter a word, yet he held back. In that fleeting moment, our gazes intertwined. In his eyes, I discerned a depth of meaning. In that instant, an unsettling sensation wrapped around me. A fragment of my being sought to brush it aside, to make sense of the circumstances. It is of little significance, just a movie, just a misunderstanding, I consoled myself. Yet my feelings were undeniably true. He leaned in slightly, too close, too sudden, and I found myself breathless for reasons I couldn't explain. Little did he know he had drawn closer. His arms stretched behind me on the couch, the closeness unexpected and difficult to ignore, leaving me uncertain if he was on the verge of touching me. Within me, chaos reigned. There was a strange electricity in the air, a confusing pull I didn't want to name, yet it inexplicably sparked a thrill deep within me. The feeling enveloped me in a shroud of fear. Yet, the events were progressing swiftly, leaving me struggling to keep up with my own thoughts. Monica, he expressed, his voice low and tinged with hesitation. I would like to share a message with you. I confronted him, my heart racing with intensity. Indeed, Jake? I asked, though my voice quivered slightly. He conveyed his heartfelt appreciation for all that had been given to him. Following Robert's passing, your unwavering support has been a constant in my life. Though there was no compulsion, you chose to move forward. Your presence guaranteed that I never experienced solitude within these walls. The onus is upon you. His words struck me deeply, yet the intensity of the moment made me even more vulnerable. Of course, Jake, I responded, holding back a grin. Your presence brings me great pleasure. Yet he kept his eyes fixed on me. Likewise, he articulated each word with a deliberate slowness, his voice carrying a rich, resonant quality. Your presence brings a profound sense of peace to my soul. The air around us grew heavy with an unspoken tension. He probably felt it too, for he subtly pulled back his hand, yet his eyes stayed locked on mine. In that instant, doubt clouded my mind, leaving me at a crossroads, unsure of the path to take. My heart raced wildly, and my thoughts swirled in chaotic disarray. I sought to maintain the distance that lay between us, yet a spark had already ignited in my mind. He wasn't the teenager I once knew. There was a gravity in him now I hadn't seen before. That revelation hit me that night, and it was one that would change everything. On that night, Jake's attitude towards me had shifted, with greater passion, with deeper emotion. For years, I had embraced a nurturing role for him, yet the Jake beside me that evening was no longer the boy he once was. At the age of 19, he stood tall, with broad shoulders and an undeniable allure. Yet he continued to be my stepson, did he not? I clung to that notion as I sought to calm the storm of feelings raging inside me. Yet, I could not have foreseen that it would not reach its conclusion at that moment. As Jake's gaze met mine that night, the depth in his eyes stripped away my defenses, leaving me completely exposed. As I pondered his unexpected emotional warmth that day, I overlooked the impending significance of the night ahead. The story that began that evening would forever change the course of my existence. If you find value in hearing confessions of this kind, I invite you to join my channel, subscribe, and turn on notifications to show your support. Trust me, this tale will be one of the most thrilling you will ever experience. Days had passed since that fateful night, and Jake's demeanor had taken on an unusual quality. At breakfast, he engaged in conversation more often, and his eyes rarely strayed from my face. He started to help with household chores in a way that was entirely new to him. "Monica, allow me to lend you a hand," he said one morning as he watched me mopping the floor. He snatched the broom from my hands and took it upon himself to begin the task. I looked at him, my eyes wide with disbelief. He had never partaken in such an endeavor before. "I see that you handle all the responsibilities in this household on your own," he said, his eyes fixed intently on mine. "You are but a single person. You are in need of assistance." The words astonished me and had an unexpected impact. "Thank you, Jake," I said, striving to steady the slight tremor in my voice. Yet, a comforting warmth surrounded me. His honest acknowledgement of my solitude struck a deep chord within me. As I busied myself in the kitchen, the unmistakable weight of Jake's gaze settled upon me. He stood behind me, propped against the counter, simply watching. Yet, these were not the kinds of appearances I was familiar with. His eyes roamed over my form, the area of my pelvis, the area of my back, my tresses. At first, I thought I was simply experiencing a vivid illusion. "Surely, Monica, you must be overstating things," I told myself. Yet, I could sense the fervor in his gaze. I strived to conduct myself in a manner that was unremarkable. Yet, I found it impossible to ignore the faint thrill that coursed through me. I truly valued it. A considerable time had passed since I had felt such intense focus from another person. As Jake exited the kitchen, an undeniable urge drew me toward the mirror. I gazed upon my reflection. During my 30s, I continued to exude charm and allure. I boasted a slender waist, generous hips, and a sculpted physique, a testament to my unwavering commitment to training. My light brown, wavy hair flowed gracefully over my shoulders, framing my face with a gentle touch. My bosom's essence. It seems they have disregarded my age. It had been quite some time since I last scrutinized my reflection in the mirror. In that moment, a feeling stirred deep within me. A metamorphosis was taking place. A feeling washed over me. As the days unfolded, Jake's actions grew ever more evident. His eyes remained fixed upon me, unwavering. At times, it was a casual connection. At times, just one word is enough. Yet, I started to notice that he was trespassing the boundaries that defined our relationship. Perhaps the most disconcerting revelation was that I found myself deriving pleasure from it. After the happenings in the kitchen that day, as I lay in bed that night, a single thought lingered in my mind. Jake had moved beyond the confines of boyhood. He had transformed into a refined and appealing gentleman. Yet, I could not have foreseen the depth of my exhilaration upon grasping that realization. I found myself acutely conscious. In due course, a moment will emerge when all will descend into an inescapable predicament. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I made my way back home after a night spent outside. The sight that met my gaze left me utterly without words. Candles are everywhere. Flora. A table set with exquisite precision. A setting steeped in romance. The birthday surprise that Jake had orchestrated left me utterly captivated. At first, I found it hard to believe that it was meant for my birthday. It was the kind of gesture someone would make, not just out of kindness, but out of something deeper. As Jake stepped into the living room to greet me, the reasons for my earlier musings became immediately clear. He slipped into a crisp white shirt paired with sleek black trousers. I had never seen him like this before. Impeccably structured and exuding charm. I found it nearly impossible to look away from him. With a hint of a smile, he declared, "I intend to make this day truly remarkable for you." He then offered me a package. As I unfastened the package and beheld the dress nestled inside, I turned to him, my eyes wide with disbelief. The dress was elegant, bold, unlike anything I'd worn in years. It made me feel seen, crafted from a silky fabric that flowed effortlessly. Its pronounced open back and daring high slit added an alluring touch to its design. As I beheld the scene, a wave of exhilaration and trepidation washed over me. "Did you acquire this for me?" I asked, filled with wonder. "Indeed, it is your special day, and I hoped you would wear something truly remarkable," he declared with a measured calmness. "I am certain it will look stunning on you," even as his gaze remained unwavering. I collected the dress and made my way to my room. As I stood before the mirror, the soft crimson fabric embraced my skin, stirring a feeling I had not experienced in ages. As I slipped into the garment, it struck me that I hadn't worn anything that flattered my figure so beautifully in years. My elongated legs glided effortlessly through the slit, while the contour of my waist and the elegant curve of my back beautifully complemented the dress's design. I stared into my reflection, and after a fleeting moment of reflection, a grin spread across my face as I whispered to myself, "This is ridiculous. I am dressing up for Jake. Truly, I seem extraordinary in this ensemble." I scrutinized my reflection, facing truths I had long ignored. Even in my late 40s, this ensemble breathed new life into my spirit, transporting me back to the vibrant days of my 20s. My skin was a canvas of smoothness, while my light brown hair flowed gracefully over my shoulders, artfully framing my face. Inside, I felt a rush of excitement, a thrill that had eluded me for quite some time. With a deep breath, I stepped out of the room. As I made my way down to the living room, I felt Jake's eyes locked onto me, steadfast and unyielding. His gaze deepened the strangeness of the situation. His gaze unmistakably expressed admiration. With a warm smile, I conveyed my heartfelt appreciation, declaring that I owe this to you. The outfit is truly remarkable. Yet, I quickly turned my gaze away, acutely aware of the intensity of Jake's penetrating stare. "I was correct," Jake stated, his gaze unwavering as it locked onto mine. "You look absolutely stunning in that outfit." Upon hearing such a frank remark, my heart quickened. However, I endeavored to brush it off by replying, "You are exaggerating." Jake gestured toward the table he had meticulously set up. In the heart of the table, 2 elegant wine glasses stood poised beside a bottle of red wine, artfully arranged to capture the eye. In a fleeting moment, I found myself in an entirely different circumstance. This felt less like a birthday celebration and more akin to an intimate dinner for two. Yet, I held my tongue, for the atmosphere had completely ensnared my senses. Jake deftly uncorked the wine, allowing it to breathe as he poured it into our waiting cups. Soft melodic tunes floated through the air, as the wine enveloped our palates with a delightful richness. At the outset, our conversation revolved around history, particularly with Robert and the changes that have shaped our lives. As the evening unfolded, I noticed Jake subtly steering the conversation toward a more personal topic. "Monica," he stated abruptly, his voice carrying a blend of kindness and solemnity. "How is it possible for someone of your remarkable stature to be alone? I just cannot grasp it." Our gazes locked, leaving me completely at a loss for words. "Jake, solitude does not always stem from a conscious decision. Life frequently leads us to isolation," I noted, though his gaze held a deep meaning. "You need not remain solitary," he remarked, lifting his glass to his lips. "A woman of your caliber harbors aspirations, Monica. Moreover, I am here." The words lodged themselves in my throat, struggling to escape. His words resonated within me more deeply than I had expected. I raised my glass and savored another sip. Yet, my eyes were unwaveringly drawn to Jake. This birthday has transformed into something far beyond a simple celebration. It was evolving into something remarkably unique. As he set his wine glass down, Jake kept his eyes fixed on me. "Monica, you seem genuinely extraordinary. I intended for this evening to be extraordinary for you. For you truly deserve it," he declared, his voice calm yet determined. A shy smile graced my lips as I turned the glass in my hand. "Your thoughtful words mean a great deal, Jake. Yet, There are moments when I reflect on the reasoning that drives your significant efforts, I noted. Jake raised an eyebrow slightly and replied, because you deserve it. You're not just a stepmother, Monica. You surpass that description by a considerable margin. His tone carried a depth that both amazed and deeply moved me. For a fleeting moment, we held each other's gaze unwaveringly. The silence that lingered between us only intensified the tension. My heart raced, yet I found myself unable to summon the courage to speak a word that could shatter the fragile stillness of the moment. Jake slowly stood up from his chair, moved around the table, and came to stand beside me. He leaned closer to me, his palm resting on the edge of the table. Monica, you do not deserve to share your solitude with someone who does not appreciate your worth. He asserted that no one ought to undervalue a woman of your exceptional quality. I struck up a conversation with Jake, even though I found myself grappling for the right words. The words sat heavy in my throat. As I prepared to express my thoughts, Jake drew nearer to my face. There was a heaviness in his words, as if he'd been holding something back for too long. His expression faltered, as if on the verge of something. I pulled away, unsure of what this was becoming. The kiss left me completely bewildered. I felt a passion, a closeness, a connection that had eluded me for years. He reached for my hand, his touch soft, deliberate, a silent question trembling between them, pulling me closer to him. A fleeting moment of wonder swiftly morphed into an instinctive reaction. Our lips lingered together for what felt like an endless moment, as though time had come to a standstill. Yet, I found myself suddenly face to face with the truth. I slowly pulled away from Jake, completely out of breath. Text this. It is incorrect, I asserted, my voice trembling. Jake, I must return to my room, was all I could manage to say. Jake fixed his gaze upon me, drawing in a deep breath. My apologies, Monica, but I could not contain this feeling, he declared, his voice steady yet charged with fervor. I sprang to my feet and hurried to my room. As I stepped inside, I shut the door behind me and rested against it, taking a deep breath. My heart quickened as I endeavored to grasp the unfolding events. I settled on the brink of my bed, my eyes fixed on the reflection in the mirror. Even my reflection appears powerless to lift the weight of that instant. What were the factors that contributed to this event? I whispered softly to myself. The chaos swirling within my mind, intensified by the effects of the drink, slowly beckoned me toward the solace of my bed. As I laid my head upon the pillow, the weight of the evening's emotions enveloped me, and I drifted into a deep sleep. Yet the evening was far from over. In the moments that followed, I became aware of a faint sound. I blinked awake, my gaze drawn to a silhouette lingering at the threshold. The door creaked open slowly, unveiling Jake's silhouette in the dim glow. Is Monica here? He whispered softly. His voice, though quiet, carried an unmistakable determination. As he stepped into the room, the stillness of the night enveloped us, and my heart quickened once again. I recognized that my presence in this moment is not suitable. Yet, he confessed, I cannot master it, as he closed the door firmly behind him. In that instant, the look in Jake's eyes suggested that the evening was far from over. The intensity of his gaze and the rich timbre of his voice completely enthralled me. My heart raced with an intensity that felt as though it might burst from my chest. I understood the importance of reaching out to him. As our gazes locked, a torrent of long-buried feelings surged forth, unrestrained and overwhelming. I acknowledged the need to offer you a reply. Jake, I said, my voice trembling yet filled with raw honesty. I resonate with your feelings. I long for you. Jake's unwavering stare completely captivated me. The feelings I had buried deep within me for years could no longer be hidden away. My heart quickened, and I understood the urgency to respond. I took a deep breath to steady my quivering voice. I recognized the necessity of offering you a reply. Jake, I declared, locking my eyes onto his. I share that feeling. I long for you. As those words escaped my lips, the mixture of surprise and delight on Jake's face filled me with a surge of assurance. A soft smile touched my lips as I momentarily shut my eyes to gather my thoughts. With grace, before my determination wavered, I proclaimed, my hands moving to my shoulders as I articulated my thoughts. I changed clothes and stared at myself in the mirror, trying to make sense of what I was feeling. The fabric glided from my form, cascading to the ground, as I remained poised, feeling the tremor in Jake's breath. The intensity of his gaze, filled with admiration and longing, heightened the thrill coursing through me. He stepped closer, the intensity in his gaze overwhelming. I took a step back, afraid of what was unfolding. His kiss radiated such fervor that it felt as though the universe itself had come to a standstill. His hand wrapped around my waist, pulling me nearer as the kiss deepened. In the end, he gently guided me toward the bed. As we arrived at the edge, Jake's hands tenderly set me down upon the mattress. With my eyes locked onto his, the weight of his presence drew forth an undeniable surrender from within me. Jake crouched low, deftly shedding his shirt and casting it aside. He knelt on the bed, leaning in closer to me. The fervor of desire reflected in his eyes stoked the flames of passion deep within me. His fingertips slowly traced down my cheek, finding their way back to my lips. In that moment, the walls that had risen between us throughout the years vanished completely. In that instant, I felt a sensation that had eluded me for over 2 years. I had utterly surrendered. As Jake moved forward, I grasped the covers tightly with my hands and closed my eyes. I surrendered to the tension and exhilaration coursing through my veins. As I opened my eyes and beheld Jake, his flushed complexion and powerful shoulders captivated me, leaving me utterly unable to resist. I reached out to his back, and in a fleeting surge of exhilaration, I sank my claws into his skin. Jake seemed to relish the moment, his heartbeat quickening with each passing second. I pressed my palm against his chest, feeling the quickened rhythm of his heartbeat. And in that moment, Jake could no longer hold back and yielded. In that moment, lines blurred, and I knew something had shifted forever, and Jake, breathless, lay beside me. On that day, amidst our discourse on matters of the heart, I surrendered to the embrace of sleep. From that day forward, my existence was poised for a profound metamorphosis. Not long ago, I found myself enveloped in a night of extraordinary joy. In that moment, I understood that this was just the beginning. Stay vigilant for the unfolding events, for this tale is far from over. Stay vigilant. Having arrived at this juncture, I recognize that my tale has left a significant impression on you. Much more awaits to be expressed, and you certainly won't want to miss a single detail. Don't forget to hit the follow button, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts about this story.